Yep, what you're seeing right now is how I pretty much feel about the division. You got Crave here, and yeah, you do play the game, but it bogs you down, and then you see that it has so much potential to be a great game, and then you feel like when you're playing it, it's almost there, but then again, it brings you down. Now, the State of the Game stream on the 28th of April was pretty much just there, and it didn't really offer a lot of solid plans on how to address its many issues. Now, from the PvE content that really isn't amazing, I mean, Falcon Loss was just pretty much just a stamina fight slash horde mode fight, to the amount of glitches and exploits and hacks. I mean, saying quote unquote it's in the works, the fixes that they plan to employ doesn't really do much. I mean, they could have probably summed it up, that stream that they did on the 28th, in about 3 tweets or 3 messages from Twitter, and that could have been just it. I know there's a lot more activity from Massive or Ubisoft, and they've even updated the launcher with more information on what they plan to do about the exploits and hacks. Still, it's questionable though. I mean, why even consider suspension as one of your actions for exploits? I mean, why do you treat your gamers as if they didn't know what they were doing? I'm sure you can say that it's Ubisoft or Massive's fault for not making sure that these exploits wouldn't exist, but you know, it doesn't seem obvious to a gamer that it's not something they're supposed to do. Game mechanics are pretty obvious, and these exploits, they're just right there in front of you. You know you're not supposed to do them, and I believe that Ubisoft should just simply limit their options for actions to basically just rollbacks and permanent account bans. I mean, don't even consider account suspensions, as these people will just be back to basically just try again. And even if the second offense means a ban, why even consider them from joining the game again? They're just, ruining people's experience. About the hacking on the PC version, the article from Ars Technica is worrying if it is accurate. I mean, we all know that most things are stored on the client side for the PC platform, and what's worrying is the inaccuracy check, or the cheat check, might be handled on the user side as well. Now, if this is true, Massive may have some big difficulty in properly implementing an anti-cheat system. I mean, and basically because they do have to rewrite a certain part of the code, and this leads me to think why it's taking so long for the company to basically address this hacking problem especially in the dark zone. And I know that exploits and hacking will never go away. I mean, gamers, we're just that good, and finding an exploit in the game, or hack something that you can hack into in the game, it will never go away. But what I'm thinking is that Ubisoft could at least make sure that the number of hackers and the number of exploiters could be kept to a very minimum. And right now, when you just look at things, sometimes it just feels like nothing is being done in the interim, even though, the problems are right there in front of our faces, and I'm sure Ubisoft can see it. I mean, the Pennsylvania spam is already evidence of that. I mean, how can they not see the spam in Pennsylvania from that, that IL guy? I mean, the one who just spams those carries for Falcon Loss or whatever content in the game. I mean, it's right there, and you can't even ban the guy in chat. I mean, you don't see active moderation again in chat. You don't see active moderation in instances. You don't see active moderation in the dark zone. So, and about the dark zone, I was having a chat with some random player, and yeah, let's face it, it's an area where it can really bring out the worst in you. Now, whether it's someone taking your extracts spot in the chopper, or line of fire baiting, yep, that's a dark zone for you. And by itself, that's fine because it is the theme of the area. But when you think about it, it's like the perfect breeding ground for people to cheat and exploit. So I guess I don't know whether it kind of makes you feel like, okay, it's a dark zone, so maybe a little bit of exploiting and hacking can happen. But that's not that's not the way to have it. I mean, Ubisoft shouldn't allow such things in the game. I mean, yeah, it's just right now it feels like with the way Ubisoft is behaving right now, or reacting to things, the way I mentioned it in my previous video, how slow they were to reacting to things, and it just feels like right now nothing is being done, even though there has been an increased activity on the forums, on Twitter. They've even, like I mentioned, updated the launcher. Yeah, I'm sure there's more activity. Maybe some people are saying there are less hackers in the dark zone right now, but overall, when you think about it, it still feels like nothing is being done. Well, I guess yeah. They've been showing a lot of an increased activity right now, but I do have some things, some ideas which are pretty much obvious to most people, but I'd like to mention them anyway. Basically how to turn things around for the game, for the division, which is really, when you look at it at its very core, I keep mentioning it in most of my division videos that it is a great game. Um, I think that there are four major, at least generalized things that they can do with the game. The first thing is they should learn to communicate, and which is something I feel like that they're doing right now. It's mainly to help make sure that the players feel that they're being heard. Now, like the 28th of April stream, yeah, you didn't get much out of those two guys talking, but at least it shows that they're communicating more and more with the player base. Maybe we're not hearing a whole lot of the things that we want to hear, but at least they're doing that right now. But I think that they should do more of it. The second thing is that they should add more polish to their fixes. If you're going to implement a fix to something in the game, make sure you don't break anything else. And I mean, it may or may not be related. Let's say they implement a fix in the game, all of a sudden the daily hard modes and the daily challenge mode missions, which award the bonus Phoenix credits, so all of a sudden go missing. And it could be unrelated, but if you do implement a fix, make sure that everything else works right. I mean, you can't have people point their fingers at you. What the hell did you just do? I mean, you can't just have people looking at you like that, especially when your game is in this state where there are so many complaints about it. Now, I mentioned four, so the next two are a bit more difficult for Massive, but the third one is to add more content to the game. Now, for this one specifically, I'm looking at more at PvE content. I mean, they should make patch 1.2 full of stuff to do. And with all the issues they're having right now, they should make sure the season pass content is worth it. I mean, right now, if you really think about it, there's not much to do in the game. Well, actually, there's really nothing to do in the game, especially once you reach a certain gear score. And like I mentioned, gear score is not even the indicator whether you've reached the end game or you're godly in terms of power. Sometimes you have to roll with a 163 item instead of an item above level 200, especially if the talents of that high-end gear are better than your level 200 item. Things like that. That really, there's not much to do in the game right now, or there's nothing to do in the game right now. They should also make up for that Falcon Lost incursion, that instance. It wasn't very good. It was just a stamina horde mode thing. And the last one, it's also difficult. It's the fourth suggestion, which is to simply implement a proper anti-cheat system. Now, given the article from Ars Technica, if it is accurate that it's a client-side thing, then they should just simply have more people to act for active, basically do active moderation. Just for the moment, for the interim, to basically ban the exploiters and hackers. I mean, in the long term, I believe they should do something about that. If there is something wrong with the code, then they should rewrite the code or a portion of that code in the game just to make sure that important checks are not handled on the client side. Ideally, this should happen before the Season Pass content launches, but if it's not possible, it should happen before the fourth quarter of this year. Yeah, those four things. And we already know that the Rikers are due for their spotlight in the upcoming free expansion, which is 1.2. And basically I see patch 1.2 as another chance for Ubisoft and Massive to do right by the game. And, to be honest, I really hope that they do, even though I don't like its current state right now. I mean, there is huge potential in this game. While I do enjoy playing with my friends, I've always believed that a game has to be great in itself. It has to be good, even though you don't have your friends playing with you, or they're not online at the time you're playing. It has to be that good that I'm not saying you don't need your friends to be with you in an MMO or an online game or a multiplayer game. It's just that the game in itself has to be good, especially for a game like this, that it's not purely PvP. It's not purely all that. It has to be good by itself. Maybe Ubisoft and Massive can basically turn things around. Maybe. Anyway, again, this is Crave, and thanks for watching.